Scammers allegedly grabbed $25 million by using AI deepfake technology to trick an employee into sending them money, making us think, we told you this was going to happen. Also, Apple's Vision Pro hits the street and users begin doing very stupid things with the AR VR goggles. These stories and more coming up on this episode of Today in Tech. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Today in Tech. I'm Keith Shaw. The guy behind the monitors is Chris. Hello, Chris.
Hey, how's it going?
Very good. And joining us once again in our guest co-host spot is Jack Gold. He is the principal analyst at J. Gold Associates. Hello, Jack. Welcome back.
Hey, Keith. Hi, Chris.
We were off for a week, so thank you for... I hope you had a great week off. There was a lot of news, but I think we're going to focus on some of the stuff that has happened more recently. And let's just start right off with this story from Hong Kong. I don't know if you saw this, Jack, but Hong Kong police have launched an investigation after an employee at an unnamed company claimed she was duped into paying 200 million Hong Kong dollars, which works out to either 20 million pounds or $25 million, depending on your currency that you want to use, of her firm's money to fraudsters in a deepfake video conference call. The Hong Kong police force said it had received a report from a worker that she had been tricked into transferring the money by someone, quote, posing as senior officers of the company. Another quote, police received a report from a staff member of a company on 29th of January that her company was deceived of some 200 million Hong Kong dollars after she received video conference calls from someone posing as senior officers of the company requesting to transfer money to designated bank accounts, the police said in a statement. As you go and read more about this, the employee was skeptical at first, but then apparently they got her onto a Zoom-like video call, and she was the only real person in this video call. Everybody else was an AI deepfake with audio and video, and somehow that convinced this person to do this transfer. I am a little skeptical of the story because I have seen this on CNN and I've seen it in the South China Morning Post, and I've seen then other blog sites write about this. So enough people are writing about it to make me believe that this is legit, but it could just be this single source story that is out there. It feels like $25 million in a scam would get more media attention than it did. But as you know, let's say that it's a real story. Like if it's fake, then okay, you got me. But if it is a real story, the real point that I want to bring up on this show is, again, we've been telling everybody on this show as soon as this technology was out, like you've got to be careful out there. And so I feel like I should be doing a victory lap, but I'm not going to because I'm a humble guy. So Jack, like, what were your first thoughts when you saw this story?
Honestly, it doesn't surprise me. We've known for a while that AI can produce some really good videos and certainly audios, and we saw that a couple of weeks ago with the New Hampshire primary stuff with President Biden. And if somebody got on a video call with you, I mean, Keith, how do I know this is really you and not an AI fake?
Well, exactly. Yeah, like that was the part of the story that was intriguing to me was before when we were talking about AI deepfakes, it was always about the phone call. So if it would just be, a phone call between you and the CFO, and they've interpreted my voice and they were quick enough to answer the questions back and forth to make you convinced. But now they've added video, and again, are you just not savvy enough to notice that someone might be a deep fake? I mean, I could ask you. So again, it all comes back to that. Give me a code phrase that you and I worked out beforehand, and it would be like, okay, well, snuffleupagus, or something that you would never be able to guess if you were trying to impersonate Jack Gold. Right? I would have to, or it would be like something that only you and I know about each other.
Yeah. And I think that we're getting to that, right? If you do a bank withdrawal today on the web, typically they'll do a multi-factor authentication. They'll text to your phone. They'll give you a passcode that you have to type in within, 2 minutes before they'll move the money or whatever. I think we're starting to get to that point as well. Look, I don't know if this is true or not. It could be fake. That's certainly possible. But I could also see it happening people are really busy at work, right? You've got a million things going on at once. You get a Zoom video call from somebody you think is your boss and says, just do this, transfer it. I got 14 things on my desk that I'm trying to get through. You just want to get through it. You just want to do it.
Yeah.
So I could certainly see it happen, and that person not being overly careful or overly skeptical, doesn't make sense. I think this is all going to get worse before it gets better. Now, the hard part for me to understand is if it was a real conversation, right?
Right.
Like we're having right now, is how do you get the deep fake to respond in real time? If you've got to type in what the real fake is going to say on a keyboard, it's going to take 5, 10, 15 seconds.
Right. You're going to have some latency or lag, right?
Yeah. There's some latency there. So it seems to me that if this happened, it was like a quick, 10-second conversation, just do this and we're done with it. If it was a 10-minute conversation, I'm not sure how that would have happened.
Yeah, and again, if I was skeptical, again, I would say, all right, Jack, lift your left hand, do this, do something that I know an AI can't do. Although, again, I tried out the virtual teams. The Microsoft Teams added virtual avatars, and they include emojis for their avatars that can do things like a little heart thing, or they can dab, they can do all of these dumbass emoji type things. So I imagine if you were like, well, hold your hand, raise your left hand. Obviously, something like that can be done by machine. It's just a matter of whether or not someone can do it quickly, so that you wouldn't notice it. I would still stick to almost a multi-factor authentication type thing. Like, give me a phrase or something that we worked out beforehand.
Or when was the last time we physically got together?
Right.
Who's going to know that, right?
Right. I don't even know. I don't even know between you and me when the last time I saw you. It would have been the last time you were in the studio here. So I'd have to look that up, and I would know the date, and you would know the date as well, right?
Yeah. Assumedly.
What scares me from my perspective is I don't have any power here at the company where I can transfer $25 million to anybody else.
You don't? Then we're ending the call right now. I'm sorry.
Exactly. So, but what concerns me is that the only power of financial ability I have is, I guess, within my own family. So the family aspect of that is if I got a video call from one of my kids or my wife saying to me, "Hey, I've been arrested, or I was in a traffic accident. I need, in order for me to get out of jail or to, proceed, you got to send me $500 via whatever." I still think I would be pretty skeptical, and I've got those passphrases with my family, my kids, just like I did when they were little. So I guess, but then half the times my kids forget what that phrase is anyway. So, and they're like,
just ask them when the last time you bought them ice cream was or something. It's not a problem.
That's true. I could come up with things that only my kids would know, or only that. Yeah.
But the audio only piece we've been going through for a while, right? There have been lots of reports of people getting scammed. You're somebody calling up and saying, "Hey, your kid just got arrested and needs $1,000 for bail money," or whatever whatever is going on.
And those seem to target seniors, right? Senior citizens.
Yep. Which is sad. I mean, as I've gotten older, I thought about this and I said, I hope I never get to the point where I can get scammed like that. But why? Yeah. I mean, it's just.
But do you think this added video component would transfer to the personal space, like what we're talking about with our families, or is this only going to be kind of a high profile? Again, the amount of processing it would take for a video deep fake, and the other component of this was that it was multiple people. It feels like it was a Zoom call with not just one person. I think there were multiple people on the call, depending on which story you read. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see that part. I just saw it was her boss.
And I guess that the boss was the only person that she recognized, even though that wasn't real.
That's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Will it happen on a personal level? It's show me the money, right? I'm not going to go through all this. For $25 million, I'm going to go through a lot of effort. For $250, it's probably not going to happen. Yeah,
that's why I've got a little skepticism here. It seems like for that much money, There's got to be some more to this story, but again, if I fell for it, I apologize. We'll see if this.
Maybe it was an insider thing. Maybe she was involved. Who knows?
That's true. That could be it too. Chris, you got anything else to add to this? I mean, do you think we could scam you out of that kind of money?
Probably not. I mean, it's the, don't trust anything kind of way of thinking, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't think so.
Do you feel like you should take a victory lap as well? Because we've been trying to warn these people for months on this show.
I mean, no, not really. I mean, it's going to become more difficult to try to figure out these things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially with AI. So.
Yeah, that leads me to another kind of thought. There was a story that I was thinking about talking about, but I didn't send it out to you guys. But the head of Samsung made some controversy lately because they've added all of these AI abilities to their smartphone, and some people were complaining. It was like, well, that adding AI to enhance these images makes the photos that you're going to be taking with these smartphones to be more fake, and that there's nothing real anymore about a photograph. And he kind of out and said that, like, just the act of taking a photo is not a real thing. Like, you've got sensors in the cameras that produce an image, so it's you're not. Even an old school camera is not a real image. It's just whatever light came through the lens and was captured by that photo. And I know, Chris, you're a video guy. Like, did you see that quote and, like, do you agree with that? That anything that we take with a phone is going to be fake no matter what anyway?
No, not really. I mean, I guess my big question would be, like, what information is that AI app now taking on your phone and storing? You know what I mean? Like, what are they going to do with your data? Right, because the AI has to analyze that picture, right? Right. So where's that? Yeah, where's that data being stored? I mean, is the AI local on the phone, or does it have to be connected to the internet?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It'd give me more questions than, I mean.
Well, it becomes a philosophical question about what is reality and what isn't reality. And it's a little bit of an offshoot of what we were talking about here with this idea of, can you believe that whoever is in front of us is real or not? I mean, I know that you're real in the studio right here because I can physically see you in front of me, and I could go over and actually shake your hand and make sure that you're real. I don't know again, 99% of me is sure that that's really Jack, but there's a possibility that he's fake on the other end. He is in front of a virtual background. I do know that that's not real. And that he could change that at any moment. And then we could always go into that discussion of whether or not we are actually living in a simulation, and that none of us is real, and that we're just some computer simulation. But I think that's going down a rabbit hole that we won't want to get to.
You've been watching too many Star Trek episodes.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, this is a great segue for our next topic, which is the Apple Vision Pro. It apparently, so last week it hit the streets on February 2nd. Users were able to get their hands on it, so it wasn't just the reviewers, the select few that were chosen by Apple to be the first round of reviews. So anybody could get one now if they were able to pre-order one. And lo and behold, people are now doing stupid things with it. So the first story was this story that came out where a Tesla driver was quote unquote arrested for driving with an Apple Vision Pro. He then said later this was just a skit. This was just something he wanted to do to try to go viral video. So it wasn't actually him being arrested and driving. Again,
and anything for social media. For social media.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like, it would have been more interesting if this wasn't a skit and this was just someone really being a dumbass. But after the story came out, before it was revealed that it was fake, then we started seeing all of these other stories like, police say, make sure you don't drive with this thing on. And there were other articles that came out that were making fun of the Tesla driver for doing this. And like, what kind of dummy would be doing this if it wasn't for publicity? Yeah.
Look, guys, we all know this, right? There are no shortage of stupid people out there that would do stuff like this. Come on.
Right. Are you stupid for doing it, or are you stupid for doing it for trying to get publicity for it, or both?
Well, if you're doing it to get publicity and you're not hurting anybody, okay, maybe I can see that. If you're doing it because you're just stupid, you deserve to get arrested.
Okay. Right.
But probably the one for publicity deserves to get arrested too. I mean, it's dangerous.
Yeah, it's
do whatever you want, but don't affect me, right? Don't negatively impact me.
Yeah, it's weird that then we had to see so many of these stories of people like police going, please don't drive with one of these things on. And again, maybe we now live in a world where we have to remind all of the dummies out there not to do this.
Well, we do. Look, you guys know, you guys live in Mass. We have a law, it's a hands-free law.
Right. Yeah.
And how many times have you driven down the street? I mean, see this almost every day, that somebody's on their phone, either texting or even talking and holding it up to their head or looking at the screen in front of them, right? Instead of driving.
And how many years have we had that? I mean, that's been like 10 years at least, right? That we've had this law.
It's been a while. I don't remember how long, but it's been a while. And people don't care.
Right.
Pretty sure the cops might not care either.
Well, if you got into an accident, they would certainly care.
Oh yeah, well then they would, yeah. But I mean, it's hard. It's hard to how do you monitor that?
I guess we just
unless they put the automobile companies put, I don't know, like cameras in the cars, and when it detects you holding a phone in your hand or something, then it'll I don't know, shut off your car, call the cops, do something. I don't know.
But there actually is a way to monitor that. Most phones today have a turn off in motion kind of
actually
switch,
that's
right?
true. That's true. I use that on my phone actually. You're right.
Right. Well, so I mean, I connect my phone to that CarPlay monitor system in my car, and so the phone is never actually used. But even the act of looking from here to down to here is a little distracting if I've got the map on the phone, or if I'm trying to switch songs or something else on the music thing. So I mean, it's not as much of a distraction rather than just picking up the phone and looking at it. And then when calls come in, I do take that on the speakerphone. So it's a little bit closer. All right, maybe we do need more of these. Hey, dummy, stop doing this thing. There's another photo There's another photo that comes up, Chris. This is the guy in the subway. I don't know if you saw this during the week as well. So there was a guy who had his Vision Pro on, and he was sitting on the subway, and he was typing something with the virtual keyboard or whatever. I think more people in this case. I think this went viral on Reddit or something like that, and more people were concerned about the fact that, like, why are you wearing this on a New York City subway street where someone can just rip this off of your head and steal it from you?
I was just gonna say. Yeah, you shouldn't do that in New York.
Like, yeah, I mean,
or worse.
Yeah, there's certainly, there's certainly a lot of areas in the city where you'd be like, why are you inviting this? And again, maybe the guy is like a karate master or something like that.
He's probably got 3 guns on him, so it'll be okay.
Okay. Maybe he was confident enough. But I think the other point is that when you're wearing the headset, you lose kind of your peripheral vision too. And even though there's this pass-through effect that's, you're supposed to be aware of your environment, it's a little bit AR. But again, it's one of those viral things that was just like, well, I'll just see what I can do and see if I can get a hit by having someone watch me do this.
As we talk about all this stuff, you know what comes to my mind? Apple, in the not too distant future, is going to get sued because something bad's going to happen with somebody having this headset on, and they're going to go after Apple saying, "See, you caused my whatever accident, robbery on the subway, crash into a telephone pole, my Tesla." I think we're going to see.
Yeah, I mean, I have seen some posts by Apple. Again, reminding everybody, like, this is not meant to be used in a car. This is not meant to be used probably in a subway. Make sure you're doing this, and this. And I'm sure there's some small print somewhere in the terms of service.
Probably when you turn on the actual headset, it probably says something.
Yeah. So next week, we're going to be talking with a couple of the guys from Computer World and Macworld who have some of these. They're going to their reviews are going to come out next week or this week, depending on when you're watching this. And so our next episode or next couple of episodes, we'll be talking about all of the different Vision Pro stuff. I just think that for this case, it was just imagining a lot of the dumb things that users were commenting on that you wouldn't have gotten from these reviewers, like people from the Wall Street Journal and people from the New York Times. Those are the ones, people that were reviewing it. There was something from Tom's Guide where they were talking about the Persona. It's like their Zoom call feature where you can now, it creates an image of you. Bring that up, Chris, the Tom's Guide one. I think there was a quote in here that I just thought it was very amusing.
I think it's this one.
Yeah. Right. So it was, I did my first Apple Vision Pro Zoom call using my persona, and yikes, basically saying that it's very creepy at the moment where whatever the thing is drawing of you is just not ready.
Why even bother doing it that way? Like if you like just use your phone, FaceTime. It'd look a lot more realistic than that avatar.
Yeah, like I said, Microsoft was trying to. They have these avatars that you can use in a Microsoft Teams meeting now, and so a bunch of Computer World editors and we jumped on a call and created our own avatars and tried to do a video conference call via Teams. And it integrated, you could use either your webcam or you could use your avatar. So you could decide if you wanted to be face-to-face with a video or if you wanted to have this little creepy avatar thing. And when we were all in the avatar world, we were just like, what's the point of this? We just couldn't discover why this would be any more valuable than just having a Zoom call. But people used to say that about Zoom calls too. Like, why? I don't know. Was there a value of having these types of things? And obviously, look what we're doing now with this.
Right?
Yeah.
If we're on a call and I can see your face, I get a lot of information. Yeah, that too, right? But I can get a lot of information just from seeing from your face. I don't get that from an avatar. How am I going to really take you seriously when you're talking to me from an avatar? If you're in a business meeting,
right. And at least Microsoft had the sense of not allowing me to create an avatar that looks like a dog or an alien or some other weird creature. Most of the avatars you could create were human. I think all of them are human. They have templates, and then you can switch things. What was interesting to me was, I think as human beings, we tend to create avatars that look like ourselves, and there's no rule that said I had to. But my avatar was a white guy with glasses, and I had my hair part generally in the same way, and the color was brownish, even though I think it's more darker and grayer than it used to be. And then they had a hoodie option. I was like, well, I'm known as the hoodie guy, so I guess I'll wear the hoodie instead of the hipster gear. And you certainly, if I'd shown up as a different ethnicity, then people might go like, why are you a female Asian woman instead of Keith? Like, I don't know. There's this weird social dynamic that I don't know if we could get into, because this happens in video games too, where I end up creating avatars that look exactly like me, and even though sometimes I hate the way I look. So anyway, this one with the personas, again, I think as you're trying to get more realistic, you then enter that uncanny valley of it's just so creepy looking, and just why would you even do it? Just show me your face.
Right.
But maybe they can't with the Vision Pro, and that's why they have to come up with this other thing.
Well, there is that aspect of it. But one of the problems that I have with trying to use something like a Vision Pro, I'm not just picking on Apple, but generally AR, VR headsets, right, is that you lose a lot of, as you mentioned earlier, your peripheral vision. And it's not in a Zoom meeting or a Teams meeting or whatever, there's a screen in front of you, so you don't need a lot of peripheral vision per se, but you still want to know what's going on around you. I mean, especially if you're in an office setting. If you're in your own room, the door locked, okay, fine. But, it's just, it changes the dynamic of, your spatial response to things. And that changes the way you interact as well. And I just can't see doing it. If you have to, I mean, if there's a reason for it, you're a telemedicine, a doctor in Chicago performing surgery on somebody in Boston. Okay, I get it. But, you're concentrated on a specific area and doing it from remotely. But just to have a conversation like this with avatars and glasses on.
Yeah, can you even imagine a day where we get to where we are now, or the early days of this? Can you see us making a logical leap where we then are using this on a regular basis? I just see this. It's a huge chasm. I can't see us getting to an area where we all need to do this and put a goofy headset on.
What does it give us? I mean, here's always been my decision point, right? What does it do for you that you don't have today?
Right.
What's the benefit?
I mean, we all used to sit around a conference room on a speakerphone, right? for some of these meetings. And then initially video conferencing came out and everyone's like, oh, I don't want to be on camera. I don't want to be on camera. And then it turns out that the pandemic forced us to be on camera.
Right.
Yeah.
So could there be another jump like this where we all have to then become virtual? Like again, would it be a disaster? Like, we all have to live in these little pods and these bubbles.
I don't.
And we can't go outside. We are all stuck in a room, but it would still be video, wouldn't it?
I could see it making sense in certain situations. So, for instance, what if you have to do a tour of the factory and do an inspection? And I could do that from sitting here at my desk with the proper headset and very importantly the proper kinds of software. Right? It's not just about the hardware; it's about the whole infrastructure. In those kinds of situations, or medical situations, a remote diagnosis. Even an insurance adjuster. I walk around my car. I just had an accident, and the adjuster doesn't come to my place. He says, just walk around your car with the camera, and I can see from here. And I can give you instant service. I don't have to wait 3 weeks for the guy to show up in my house. Those kinds of situations make a lot of sense.
But you can do that with You can do that with a phone. Yeah, you can do that with a phone right now. Right, the adjuster gets on the phone with you and says, "Walk around your car, point your smartphone at the camera. I can see where the damage is." I don't understand why you would then need to put a big headset on.
Only because in theory it could give you a better 3D view.
Okay.
In theory.
And in theory, that's where you might see these being used in field service, but it does feel like it's never going to be a knowledge worker type thing. It feels, at least not at this point.
I never say never, but I have to see some real benefit to it, and I don't at this point.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to move from, and again, we're going to talk more about the Vision Pro with our reviewers next week. So if you are interested in that, just stick around for another week and we'll have that episode up. All right. Moving to the world of streaming. The big news this week from ESPN, Fox, and Warner Brothers Discovery have announced a new service that is going to create a sports streaming platform. This was very interesting. Of course, the Super Bowl, by the time you see this episode, the Super Bowl will have been done. We are recording this ahead of the Super Bowl, so we don't know who won the game, but sports is on a lot of people's mind right now. So ESPN, Fox, and Warner Brothers Discovery are teaming up to create a supersized sports streaming service that will offer content from all of the major leagues, a deal that is allegedly will help reshape the sports and media landscape. The as-yet unnamed service will be offered directly to consumers who would be able to stream all of these companies' sports content, the company said in a statement following a report in the Wall Street Journal about the new venture. Each of the companies will have 1/3 ownership of the new service, which is expected to launch this fall. Pricing was not announced, but the CEOs of Fox, Warner Brothers Discovery, and Disney, which is the majority owner of ESPN, said the new offering would increase choice for fans and give a new sports-centric service to those who have cut the cord to traditional pay TV. So sports, and live sports especially, well, yeah, I mean, I guess all sports are live, but that was the one holding point for a lot of people to not cut the cord. And everybody that I've talked to about, have you cut the cord yet? Do you still have cable? The biggest answer was always, well, I don't, because I like watching Sport X, whether it's the NFL or NBA or, local team. I like watching the Red Sox. I like watching Celtics or whatever your favorite team is. So that was always the reason that you would want to maybe have a cable connection. There were some movements where streamers were starting to offer digital packages. I think there was a service called Fubo that my friend uses to watch NESN games for, or the NESN cable channel. I know NESN itself had this like ridiculously high priced thing to watch Red Sox games and maybe Bruins games. So there was some movement in front, but this is a big deal for these major three sports. What's interesting to me as well is that it doesn't cover all of the different licensing agreements that a lot of these major networks have, or a lot of these major sports. For example, you wouldn't get all the football games in the NFL because NFL offers games for Amazon on Thursday nights. Right. CBS is not involved in this, and they have the rights to some Sunday games in the AFC. So you would still have to stream Paramount Plus to get those games. I think there's a Sunday night Peacock game, which I guess that's now Warner Brothers Discovery, so maybe that would be covered. But there were a couple of others that you would still have to go if you wanted to get everything. But I think most people are thinking that a deal like this could, accelerate that. People is like, finally, I can now subscribe to this and I could ditch my cable so I could still watch all the sports I need. Do you have any thoughts on this, Jack? I'm not sure how much of a sports fan you are or not, but this seemed like a big deal to me.
Well, yes and no. So one of the problems with all of these is that they still have to pay all the franchisees, right? They still have to pay the NFL. They still have to pay, the Red Sox. They have to pay. All of these guys are getting fees,
right?
And sports is big business. And so one of the reasons why the individual subscriptions are so high is because it's not just because they're trying to get a lot of money out of us, which of course they are. It's also because they have to pay a lot of money to the franchisers of the sports
right.
to be able to show it. So my question to these guys is, if they're going to show all of these games, how much is it going to cost them? And how are they going to relate that cost to me as a subscription fee? It could be that this is going to be $30, $40, $50 a month. We don't know.
Right.
You're going to get diehard sports fans that might jump on that. Casual sports fans aren't going to pay that.
Right. And and again, beyond the four major sports, there's also international sports, international soccer, there's F1 stuff, there's college football, there's all sorts of college games. And again, if you were really into sports, there's a lot of different sports that you can go. Even people that like golf, I guess there's a golf channel, tennis and
hockey. I mean, yes.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of stuff. Swimming.
What's interesting is that we're seeing that the model worked when it was in a broadcast format, right? And then as people moved to cable, the model still did work. You would have networks that would be paying these licensing fees from these sports, and then they would pass that pass the money along through advertising and through
right.
Other types of deals. And that's why your cable bill ended up being so high, is because you've got to, the cable company has to pay ESPN. ESPN has to pay the NFL,
right.
And right down the line. So what's weird is that with this digital streaming subscription type based thing where you're moving from advertising revenue to subscription revenue, advertising revenues up here, subscription revenues down here, there's a big gap. And we're seeing that in the entertainment space with movies and TV shows and all these other things where they're dropping these premium. You can't really, or you either raise the price on the premium subscription so that you don't get ads, or you lower the price, but then say, well, we're going to throw in, now you have to watch all these ads again. And it's basically like, well, why did I give up cable at this point? Because I'm now paying for a service that's here, and now I also have to watch ads. I think my Netflix just changed over for that, for example.
Yeah, Amazon Prime just did too.
Yeah, and was there a big uproar of that? I mean, I wasn't really outraged by this because I don't watch any of the Amazon stuff anyway. I don't think their content is very good. I only have it because of the free shipping.
Right. And I think that's why most people sign up for Amazon. It's for the free shipping.
Yeah.
The content has really gone downhill on Amazon in the last year or two. So it's not that big of a deal, but it is an annoyance, right? You're paying for something and they're basically raising the fees on you without raising the fee.
Right. So I'm just surprised to see them think that, well, this time it'll be different because it's sports. Where it feels like the sports model is even worse off than the entertainment model can be with the amount of money. Because again, if it wasn't for these TV licensing deals, you don't get the high salaries that you get in the sports leagues. And I can't see a crash coming for the sports leagues for them to say all of a sudden, well, yeah, of course, we'll go this other streaming route. I guess
I'd be surprised that if it's successful long term. We'll see. I might be wrong, but
remember when we were talking about? I think this was on your first appearance. We talked about that Peacock only streaming football game, and it turns out that was the lowest number of viewers. And so whether you thought 23 million was a lot or a little depended on your perspective. Someone did ask Roger Goodell this week during the Super Bowl media coverage whether or not there would be a streaming only pay-per-view type Super Bowl at some point. And Goodell said, well, not in my lifetime. So like as long as he's commissioner, he was like, well, this won't happen. And again, you rolled. See, again, now I could tell that you're real because you just rolled your eyes at me. But you guys were making fun of me a little bit when I suggested that at some point we might be seeing a pay-per-view Super Bowl, and the Wall Street Journal did write about that this week. So
again, the discussion was, here's the trade-off. If I make you pay for the game, and the subscription and the people that are watching goes from, I'm making up numbers, right, 100 million down to 50 million.
Yep.
Why would an advertiser pay you the same price they were paying you before to run a Budweiser ad on that screen?
Right. So now, yeah. So instead of a $7 million 30-second spot, that's apparently what the price is. You're paying $7 million to reach 100 million people. So if in a streaming world, do they ask for a $3.5 million ad to reach 50 million people?
I would.
If the 50 million people then pay, what is it? If it's $100, now you're talking, my math is horrible.
Whatever, yeah.
500 million or even $5 billion that you could get off of the advertise or the fee to watch the Super Bowl. I guess
it's all about,
I'm sure there's people that are figuring out the math at some point.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, it's all about following the money. How do they make the most money? It's dollars per eye.
Is that the trade-off that we have for the Super Bowl, where I can watch it for free, but I've got to watch through a lot of insufferable Super Bowl ads?
Yeah,
that are all about Taylor Swift in some way or another. I guess
that is exactly the deal. That's exactly the deal.
But that's been the deal since the early days of television, right?
Absolutely.
In order to get this for free. But now it's not even that I don't get it for free anymore. I have to pay to watch something, and then I'm forced to watch additional things to make up for the difference so that more people can get money.
But the original deal, the original advantage of cable, this is going back, 20 or 30 years. The reason people paid for cable is because they went from 3 channels or 4 channels or 5 channels if you're in a big city to 50 or 100 channels.
Right.
And the signal was good. You didn't have to go screw around with your antenna. Right. Remember those days?
Yeah.
That was a different ball game. So you're paying for quality and you're paying for quantity. Now, you're probably not paying for either. Or you're not paying additionally for either.
Paying for convenience.
What I'm saying.
Well, now, yeah, and if you're on a mobile phone, you're now paying for that convenience, right? Good point, Chris. And you're, quality is certainly not any better. Although the jump from cable to high def was a really good jump, especially for sports.
Yeah, high def on cable.
Yeah, well, you could, but it was a lot better on fiber optic. I guess that's cable.
Well, but the other problem that these people need to think about, and I know they are thinking about it, but the other problem is how many subscriptions are people willing to pay or able to pay, right? So you just mentioned it, right? You got a phone subscription, you got a cable subscription, or at least you got an internet subscription. You got the streaming services subscriptions.
Yep.
Maybe you're paying for, Premium X, Twitter or whatever. All this stuff starts adding up, and people are starting to look at these bills and saying, wait a minute. There are people who have 4 or 5 streaming services, Netflix, Paramount Plus, Discover, whatever it is. They pay for 4 or 5 of them. That's $50 a month right there by the time you get through.
And then you have
maybe a little less.
And then you have to subscribe to an app that will help you unsubscribe from the ones that you don't use anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that's part of the problem. People are dropping. We had this discussion, right? People are dropping services because they can't afford them.
Yeah. And so now there's another segue. Thank you, Jack. Google has announced that it's rebranding its Bard AI to Gemini. And guess what? It's rolling out a paid subscription for this. So Google has renamed its Bard chatbot after the new artificial intelligence that is powering it, called Gemini, and said consumers can now pay for better reasoning capabilities as advised with Microsoft to win subscriptions. For $19.99 a month, you can now access Gemini Advanced, which includes a more powerful Ultra 1.0 AI model. This was according to Google. Subscribers will receive 2 terabytes of cloud storage, which typically costs about $10 a month, and you'll then gain access to Gemini in Gmail and Google's productivity suite. the bundle, which is known as the Google One AI Premium Plan, because God forbid I should try to remember a name of a plan here, represents one of the company's biggest answers yet to Microsoft and its partner OpenAI. It also shows growing competition over consumers who now have several paid AI subscription options. The funny part about that statement is the word competition, because it's the same price that OpenAI is charging. So it's not really much in terms of competition. And there's so many subscriptions out there in the world of AI. It feels like they're just throwing pasta at the wall, or just throwing to see what sticks. Because we don't know if this financial model is working in the AI world. But it's like, oh, well, they charge $20. We'll charge $20 as well, and see if we get any customers. I don't see any reason why anybody would want to subscribe to something like this, seeing as how the differences between the different AIs are not really that different. Again, I'm not diving so far deep into the nuances of all of these different AI tools, and maybe I'm not the right guy to do that.
No, I don't think it's so much that. I think what Google's trying to say is Microsoft's going to charge, so we're going to charge, right? But Google's done this for a long time now. I mean, it used to be, remember the early days when Google came out with the equivalent of Microsoft Office? It was free.
Right.
And you can still get a free version. But if you want the really good version, you're going to pay for it. It's whatever it is, $20 a month, $15 a month. I don't remember the cost anymore. And then they were also going after business users, which are willing to pay a premium price. So I think what really is going on at Google right now is they're saying, look, this is going to take up, first of all, it's going to take up a lot of processing power.
Right.
So it's not free.
Yep. That's a great point.
And search is, we already got search. That's fine. The ads pay for that. Ads don't pay for AI stuff. I guess they could, but they're not right now.
Well, that's the big thing about that. That's the big thing within the search world, is they're trying to figure out how do you mix search results where I can get money for it versus accuracy and satisfying the users for their requests.
Right. Or just saying, look, if we don't give you ads, we have to give the money somewhere else. We have to get it somewhere, right? So I think this is still at the experimental stage. I think it's going to take another year or two for it to all shake out. I think what ultimately ends up happening, if we look out a few years, whether it's Google or Microsoft or whoever else, is there will be a free AI component, just as we have today, or ads, let's say ad supported, maybe. And then there will be a premium service. Just like you get on cable, right? You get a bunch of free channels. You get the local channels for free. Well, nothing's for free, but then you have a premium tier, HBO, Showtime, all that kind of stuff that you pay extra for. I think the same thing is going to end up in the web with AI. Yeah. But I think it's going to take a few years for it to sort out.
It's weird for a technology that is so early on to be jumped on with the subscription model. And I understand that the processing takes a lot of money and energy. But I haven't been convinced yet. I haven't been convinced, other than OpenAI, which I wanted to get on, but then they closed off all new subscriptions. So It feels like I missed the boat on that.
There is another reason to charge, which people don't talk about.
Okay, what is it?
And that is that you don't want to get 20 million people on board. You want to limit the number of people you get on until you prove out the technology.
Right.
So any early technology, you see people charge a lot of money for it. There's two reasons for that. One, they're trying to get the money back, right, for the engineering. But also it limits the number of people you get on board so that you're not overwhelmed with billions of users right away. And if there's a problem, you can fix it. You're only affecting a few people. So I think that's part of it as well right now.
Okay. So, but if you're a business, you're going to be interested in some kind of subscription plan at some point. Yeah. If you feel like there's something very valuable here. I mean, the other hand, on the other hand, I feel like these companies like Google and Microsoft are trying to do their best to make AI very uninteresting and boring. And I know there's again, I've interviewed a lot of people about AI and the value of AI in business and enterprise tech. And sometimes my eyelids get really heavy and droopy, for the alleged excitement around, well, I can do my accounting and bookkeeping faster. It's like, okay, yeah, wake up a little bit.
Right.
And again, the thing I'm most excited about is just being able to draw goofy pictures on on this image generation stuff. And at some point to try to trick and fool my friends and family into giving me lots of money. So that's my other vested interest. All right, let's go to the lightning round. We are going to go for 3 quick stories. I just need some quick hot takes from you, Jack, about this. First of all, an analysis said that cyber hacking victims paid out a record $1.1 billion in ransoms last year for ransomware. So my big question is like, I thought we were supposed to be not paying ransoms. So what happened? Why are we paying this much money in ransoms?
Because if you're, and this usually it's not you or me, right? This is big business. So if you're a hospital and I attack your systems and shut down your hospital, and it's going to take you 2 weeks to get back up and running, how much money are you going to lose?
Yeah, it's a lot more. Yeah.
Yeah. It's cheaper to just pay these guys.
So should we change our strategy about not paying? Like, is that still the best approach of, law enforcement going, don't pay. But it's like, we can't, we have to keep our systems up.
Well, the strategy needs to be these guys all need to update their systems so they've got backups so that if somebody does get hacked or you get attacked, you got a way to switch over and not lose any money. And that's not happening anywhere near as quickly as it should.
Okay. Next up, a robocall that used the fake Joe Biden voice was traced back to a Texas company. And also, just breaking, the FCC is basically, they did a rule that said, guess what, guys? AI voices in unsolicited robocalls is now illegal. So good for the government for being on top of all this.
Yeah, right on time.
The New Hampshire Attorney General did trace it back to a Texas company, but I don't know if they can arrest anybody yet, or they basically told them to cut this stuff out. Who knows if there's companies behind companies to see if there's an actual person that they can put to this. But at least the FCC is saying that you can't do that anymore. So good for them. I'm
actually surprised and a little bit impressed that they were able to trace it back, because VoIP calls are really hard to trace. You got to go through a lot of effort. If I send you an email, there's a complete IP trail from my machine all the way to yours. That doesn't happen in the phone company systems these days. They're trying to change that,
right? But
we've got a long way to go to do that. So just the ability to trace it back is actually fairly impressive.
Would you be interested as a network telecom guy to learn how they were able to do it? If they came out and said, "Here's how we figured out that it was this company."
Yeah, I think that would be great.
All right, maybe we'll try to get them on the show, or you can call them.
I think that would be super.
Yeah.
Because it isn't that easy. I mean, we know because we get all these fake calls right from India or Japan or North Korea. I don't know, wherever they're coming from. I get all kinds of stuff on my phone, right? So that's cool.
Could it have been a case where these were coming from an old school telephone system, and that's how they were able to find them, and because they were just dumb?
Yeah, it could be. I doubt it, but they must have found a way to trace the traffic back, and good for them. By the way, we used to hear the same thing about cryptocurrency, right? The whole blockchain thing, it's untraceable. Guess what? It's not true. There was a woman, I can't remember her name now, but did a research project and found out a way to trace back blockchain, because there's a certain, I won't go through any of the details because it'll take too long, but there's a certain way to find out anonymous numbers and trace them back to owners. And she was actually instrumental in working with the government to shut down a whole bunch of malware bad guys that were using blockchain or cryptocurrency, right, to get paid.
Yeah. I always assume that a lot of these frauds or scams are complex and more sophisticated than maybe we think they are, and then it could just turn out that sometimes it's just a bunch of dumb criminals that do something. So. But it does
or not that dumb,
or not. Yeah. All right, and our final one is that YouTube TV says it has more than 8 million subscribers. That was some interesting news in their recent annual report or their quarterly report. They have now passed satellite subscriptions for YouTube Live, and that's $73 a month for the live TV. Now they're saying most of that subscriber jump happened because they got the Sunday ticket, the NFL Sunday ticket, proving again sports how lucrative that can be for subscribers. I did subscribe to YouTube Live for 4 days so that I could watch one football game, and then I immediately canceled the subscription, so I didn't get charged the $73. So, but yeah, I mean, again, I think that just shows that cable is on the decline. So I don't know if you had any thoughts on that as well.
Well, again, it's the sports people, right? How much? What's a Super Bowl ticket going for? $6,000, something like
beyond,
that.
It's like three Vision Pros or 2 Vision Pros.
So there are a lot of people who will pay big bucks, you know, who are real sports fans, and that's where they're getting the money from. It's not because you want to watch. I mean, I don't know the latest version.
I don't think I would argue that it's not even about the enjoyment of the game anymore. I think it's all about the gambling and the fantasy football and keeping track of all of that stuff. You know, that's a whole other episode we could do about the rise of all of these different ways to. Again, the NFL and all of these other sports became so much more popular when fantasy football took off, and then you started seeing mobile sports gambling and all of this other kind of need for us to watch. You can't just watch a game anymore. I mean, you have to be engaged and interactive and either get money or lose a lot of money. So
yeah, exactly.
We should, you know, because this is going to be out after the Super Bowl, we should either say congratulations Chiefs or congratulations 49ers.
Niners.
Yeah. And then maybe I'll just cut that out later. Congratulations, Taylor Swift, on getting engaged. Or oh, sorry, Taylor. Sorry that you couldn't make it to the game. We should just have a rolling series of all these different things. Anyway.
Well, aren't they? They're both red teams, right? So just say congratulations, red team.
The red team won. Exactly. Or yes, congratulations. All right, Jack, thanks again. And we'll see you next week with more tech stories. Thanks again for jumping on the show today.
Terrific. Thank you, Keith.
That's all the time we have for today's episode. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, add any comments you have below. Join us every week for new episodes of Today in Tech. I'm Keith Shaw. Thanks for watching.